Now, to discuss this further, I'm now be joined by Namdi Okonkwo, who is a former NSCDC commandant. Thank you for joining us, sir. Now, President Bola Tinubu recently visited Benue State following the tragic killings in Yeliwata. Now, from your experience in security management and also considering the president's promise to deploy more personnel and support the state, what would you say are the critical gaps in coordination between the federal and state security agencies that need to be urgently addressed to prevent future attacks?
Thank you very much for having me. As it is right now, I cannot but take a second as a sign of condolence to the people who lost their lives in Benue State. I commend the president for visiting the scene and also going to see the carnage that has occurred there and also talking to the Tor TV, the Tor TV of Benue. But one thing that we must all remember and not forget is that the Benue State crisis is a complex and deeply rooted problem, often described as a quagmire. And this is due to its persistence and the difficulty in finding lasting solutions. It is not a single issue, but a confluence of historical issues as they are. And everybody knows why. This is because there has been already an existential threat within the Nigerian security and political system. Until that existential threat is erased, we'll continue to have the quagmire as it is in Benue State, if not even beyond Benue State. So Nigeria should put together what they can in order to avoid and avert any exacerbation of the current situation spreading to other states. So I call on them to really, what we call, enforce the security agencies of Nigeria, possibly have them retrained, have them reinstructed, and have a good, proper security mission for them, and then give them the modus operandi with which to operate that.
Before we go further, I would like us to listen to a comment made by the Tor Tiv during the president's visit. He raised some concerns about how these attacks are being framed, especially in the media and by some government actors. Now, please listen to this track and I'll come back to get your reaction.
Your Excellencies, it is not herder farmers clashes. It's not communal clashes. It's not repressor attacks or skirmishes. It is this misinformation that has led to suggestions such as remain tolerant, negotiate for peace, learn to live with your neighbors. What we are dealing with here in Benue is a calculated, well-planned, full-scale genocidal invasion and land-grabbing campaign.
Now, you've just listened to the Tor Tiv, who firmly rejected the idea that these are mere farmer and others clashes. Now, instead, they described the killing as calculated terrorist attacks. Now, as a former commandant, do you agree with his assessment?
To be very honest and fair with you, I started by saying that it's a very complex and far-reaching security problems they have there. That's why I described it as a quagmire. And the inherent existential threat, which I mentioned, is not far-fetched from what the Tor TV has said. Until we get to the root of the existential threat, this problem will continue. Because these people are calculative. They're looking for land, they're looking for resources, and they're looking for development and socio-economic expansion of themselves. Therefore, they require all that it takes, the land, the human resources, and possibly the capital with which to establish themselves wherever they go. So that existential threat must be looked into. Otherwise, the Tor Tiv, like he said, he cannot close his eyes in a vehicle going down the hill, knowing that at the end of the hill they are going to crash with such a tragic optimism. It is that tragic optimism that is calling on government to intervene. The government has to do much, so much more, to put the people of the Benue in a situation where they will now trust the government, believe in the resolution projects of the government against the issue of land grabbing, against the issue of killings, which I call massacre, which is not necessary at this point in time in our political history. Nigeria has come a long way. Nigeria is 60 years of age, if not more, since 1960. We're talking the same thing. And this existential threat, government has to address it. Because one thing that must be made clear in this country is to let the government know that Nigeria is Nigeria. Nigeria is not a conquest of anybody. Coming from the period of 1804 of Usman Danfodio, Nigeria is not a conquest of anybody. So they should continue to look at that as an issue. And that is the existential threat we have.
All right.
Nobody should sit down somewhere and look at Nigeria as his or her conquest, and therefore want to dictate the tones.
All right, I'm sorry to cut you short,
political
Mr.
or religious
Nnamdi.
beliefs.
I'm so sorry to cut you short, but because we have to cut you short due to time. And thank you so much for your insight and for sharing your expertise with us. We truly appreciate your time.